In 2024, I was very clear that the assets in my business were not working for me. And it's the same story that I think we all in the online education space as coaches and course creators end up hearing to some degree, where on the outside, the dollars are making sense, the revenue is amazing, the clients are getting the results, and everybody's like happy from the outside looking in. But from the inside, you are overstretched and overbooked in terms of responsibilities. When you look at your calendar of things to do every day, it is chock full. And you have tons of assets in your business that are not actually supporting you in doing the delivery and decreasing this feeling and this reality of being overstretched, being overbooked, working past your bandwidth and your capacity, wearing many hats, and doing all the things. And I'm surfacing this today. I'm bringing this up because I have been talking to a few coaches and course creators who are experiencing something similar. And it's compounded, especially around the assets not working for them. It's compounded because they're in positions where they have audiences that are tens of thousands of people, like community wise. And these are highly engaged audiences. Like their people will talk back to them. If they put something up on stories and ask for feedback, they will get it. Okay. If they post something, they will get comments, they will get likes, they will get shares, they will get replies in the DMs. So, highly engaged audience, very large audience, but they're not seeing the conversion, and their Stripe and PayPal accounts are not reflecting the reality of this large engaged community. And so they feel like something's not working. They feel like there's a huge gap, and they feel like this is not supporting me towards my goals. I have this large audience, but they're not converting. Something is wrong. And I found myself in 2024 in a similar place. And I want to share with you what I did for myself and what I do for clients in this situation. So if this is real for you, then you'll have some idea of what you can do next and how you can move forward. So, as I said, I started off 2024 overstretched and overbooked in terms of responsibility. Your girl was doing all the things. I've talked about this in previous videos, but basically, I was running a boutique micro agency with a very small handful of clients, like less than five. But we were doing a ton of launches. Like these clients were launching sometimes. I remember once we launched twice a quarter. And so we were either launching, prepping for a launch, or refining an evergreen funnel in the background. So there was a good chunk of things happening. There was a fair amount going on. And as I said, what that meant was Chelsea was getting up every day, jumping into my Slack to message clients, reviewing emails that my copywriter had sent back to me, rewriting those emails in some cases or most cases because I didn't like, I just for whatever reason didn't want to use them. Like drafting masterclass scripts, creating masterclass slide decks, checking in with my tech team to make sure that they had set up everything tech wise for the launch funnel, like keeping track of evergreen funnel metrics and making sure that folks had checked in that way. Like it was a lot, y'all. It was a lot. And I was very clear by the end of the year that I could not do this to myself because I was quite frankly at the edge of burnout. And it took me the rest of like all of 2025 basically to come back to myself and to really restore like my energy levels in a way that would then allow me to create and like the resources I needed to support myself. But it wasn't fun. It wasn't fun. And as I said, I see a similar situation with the coaches and course creators I'm having conversations with these days. Folks are in positions where they are just going, going, going. Usually, these folks also have a podcast. And as I said, they're very highly visible. So their body of work is extensive in terms of like how much they show up on social media, all the things they say, like, and how often they say it, like how prolific they are. That is very clear. And their people respond to that. Like their people love seeing them in their feed. They will show up for them, they will message them, they will comment, they will reply. And so there's this kind of prevailing feeling that I am doing all this work and my people love me, but what's in my bank account is not reflective of the effort and energy I'm putting into this business and the effort and energy that my community is giving back to me. And as I said, I felt a similar thing in my business because I looked around, and from the outside looking in, things look amazing. This was the best revenue year I had ever had in my business. I crossed the six-figure mark personally, in terms of like the business revenue for the first time in 2024. And my clients were doing exceptionally well. I was helping them make a ton of money and impact thousands, literally, of lives. And I was really proud of the launches that we were helping them to create and the evergreen funnels that we were helping them to manage. And so we were in this kind of twilight zone where I was holding success and failure at the same time. And in that tension, there is definitely the reality that all of us feel, I think, because we all tend to be hard on ourselves. Low key perfectionist over here, like not low key, high key, recovering, and maybe low key not wanting to recover, perfectionist, hard on ourselves. And so I was being hard on myself, and the sort of feeling and prevailing narrative and story that was coming up for me when I looked at how outwardly well we were doing, but how much internally under resourced, under supported, overstretched, etc. I felt, it was like, what's this all for? I'm putting in so much and I'm barely taking home anything. And as a matter of fact, even though the business is bringing in exceptional revenue, the business is losing money because I have to pay my team. And let's be real, we want to pay these people well. We want to have a fair exchange of value here. Like, they are providing significant value to me and my clients. I want to fairly pay them for their work. So I'm not going to undercut them, but the way that the system is set up right now, it's not working. And I am questioning, is this worth it? And is my effort and my energy worth it for this result? Because it's not where I want to be. This is not what I want my life to look like. I don't want to be jumping out of my bed and jumping straight onto my laptop and replicating the kind of hellhole, forgive my language, agency life that I came from for myself. I'm not trying to give myself a job here. This is not the goal. And it's really interesting that I ended up in that situation because I knew that was what was coming. Let me tell you how I knew, y'all. In 2023, either 2023 or 2022, might have been 2020, the end of 2022. Or maybe it was the end of 2023, actually. Yeah, it might have been. I went to a conference in California, and brilliant time, beautiful woman, like beautiful people in that room. It was an amazing time. And I, at the end of it, a lot of folks were like, look, you say you want to make this level of money in the business, and we all know that your highest leverage offer in order to do that is an agency model. You know it too, but you are resisting it. Why? As a matter of fact, you have people willing to pay you for that. You already have that. Try it and see what happens. And I was so resisting it, y'all. I nearly cried when everybody was reflecting that back to me and encouraging me to try. I teared up in the middle of that conversation because I was just like, bruh, this is not not necessarily where I want to be, because I know what agency life can look like. I know what it can feel like. I know it in my bones, and that's not the reality I want to step into. Much more create for myself. Like, I'm not trying to imprison myself here. Like, this is not what I want. But there was a tension because I said I wanted this amount of revenue, and this was the highest leverage offer to create that revenue. And so they were like, just try it. You can write the story differently, and just try it and see where you end up. So I walked away from that conference very nervous, very concerned, but also very clear that, okay, we're going to try. And the worst that can happen is all of my fears come to life and I figure it out. Well, 8 months after that, 5 months after that, 4 months after that, that was definitely where I was. All of my fears had come to life about what my life would look like, what things would feel like, and how overstretched and just like overworked I would feel. And I hated it. Like, walking through a living nightmare almost. It wasn't as extreme as my first agency experience, but because it was like a smaller number of clients, but it was pretty bad. It was still pretty bad. And like I said, it was sitting in this tension between success and failure, because I could see the markers of my success. I could see that I was building something. I could see my clients getting the results. I could see my team feeling good about contributing to my clients' results. And I could see us all feeling very proud of what we were creating and engaged with the work. Like, we actually enjoyed the work if we had the time and space and energy to actually give fully to it. Like, as it was, myself primarily was like really, really struggling with that. So even though there were moments of like, yeah, I enjoy what I'm doing, and I know I like these kinds of tasks and these kinds of projects on a day-to-day basis, these things engage my brain in a way that is really, I just enjoy working my brain in this way. In spite of that, I was clearly at the end of my rope. And so all my fears had come to life. What I was dreading and tearing up about was literally what I was living through. And at that point, it was like, okay, Chelsea, well, you did say worst case scenario, all your fears come to life and you have to figure it out. Welcome to worst case scenario. Let's figure it out. And I think I'm grateful. I'm grateful to the Lord. I'm grateful to Jesus for catching me in that season and sustaining me in that season, because it was not me who kept myself. If y'all know the song A Million Little Miracles, it's like, it ain't new. It's not a new song at this point. But the first two lines of the second verse, you held me steady so I wouldn't give up. Bruh. Bruh. Jesus held me together, like together, so I could continue to deliver for my clients. I was crumbling, fam. I was crumbling. So, and as I said, it's sitting in this tension of like, no, actually, we're making moves here. We're building something, and also the foundation has huge cracks, and everything is low key internally not great, and this is not sustainable. And so by the end of 2024, I was very clear. I can't keep doing this to myself. I have to stop. I can't offer done for you work anymore, at least not at that price point, and not with that structure of delivery, and not with the lack of systems to support what I was wanting to deliver. So I drafted some price increases. I restructured my pricing and my offers and sent that to my current clients. And everybody was like, yeah, no, Chelsea, we can't do this. And I was like, all right, cool. That's okay with me, because guess what? I need a break to keep going anyway. So So all good. Great working with y'all. We'll still be biz besties and we'll hang around and talk, but like I won't be serving you and that's okay. So I went into 2025. I'm gonna say 2015, y'all. 2025 with a clear sense that like, okay, my IPs and frameworks that are in my brain need to come out and be turned into systems because they're not serving me stuck in here and in Google Keep Notes and Apple Notes and email drafts and random Google Docs. Like they're spread all over the place. Like, and these frameworks are not coherent, not working together unless they're like in my brain and unless I am the one employing them. They're kind of ish documented, but not really. And because of that, there's no workflow that's replicable for anyone besides myself. And therefore, I have no support in this delivery. I have no systems to support me. I have no team that adequately supports me. And so I was very clear, like, these assets in my brain and these assets sitting around Google Docs and Notes apps and all that foolishness, we're done with that. In 2025, we not do that because guess what? We have got to create a resourced and structured system that enables me to deliver at the caliber of delivery that I would desire to and that I am aiming towards so that I can return to this done for you stuff without crumbling foundations and unsustainable momentum. And so here I was sitting in this tension of success and failure, sitting in this reality that was unsustainable, very clear that I have assets in my business that were not working for me. And like I said earlier in this video, that's exactly what's going on with a lot of the coaches and course creators I'm talking to. They have these huge audiences, engaged, they're highly visible. Heck, because of their visibility, even if they don't do brand deals on a regular, they've got brand deals sitting in their inbox, right? Like people are reaching out to them, trying to get them to work with them. And they're refusing tons of offers because it's like, no, I'm putting in the work. And my audience and my community is responding. People are following, people are messaging, people are commenting, people are sending me DMs, they're replying to my emails. They want to know like how I can help them. But then I put out an offer and they don't buy. What is going on here? There's something that's not working. And worse, they also feel like the systems in their business are broken. The infrastructure is all over the place. Just like I was talking about my Google Docs and my Keep Notes and my Apple Notes and like random email drafts housing my IP and my frameworks. It's the same thing. They're feeling like, okay, this funnel is broken and disconnected, so it's not even working. And that funnel, I don't know what's going on with that. That offer is not creating predictable revenue on a like regular basis. And they have a ton of like infrastructure that's not supporting the revenue goals and the sort of sustainability and ownership that they are looking for with their content, with their business, and with their revenue. And so here's what I did in 2025. I started kind of coming back to myself and creating a system that resources me to deliver what I want to deliver by identifying the highest effort things that I could make lowest effort. Like, what is the lowest hanging fruit that has the potential for the highest ROI? That's the question I asked myself. And when I say lowest hanging fruit, in my case, nearly every like system of operation in my business was lowest hanging fruit because all of it was eligible. Right? All of it was eligible for overhaul and for restructuring and resolidifying. And so the question that I had myself answer was, okay, all of this is lowest hanging fruit for me. So which one of these will give me the highest ROI? And it's the same thing that I do for my clients. When they come in this situation, the first question I ask is, and the first question we really focus on answering is, what is the lowest hanging fruit? What is the lowest effort action that you can take to create the highest ROI. And so when we're doing our analysis, when we're doing surveys, when we're diving into the data, that's the answer that we are trying to get to. Lowest effort, lowest hanging fruit, highest ROI. What is that action? What's that process? What's that system? What is that step that we can take in order to get you to a place where we decrease some of the overstretching, we decrease some of that overbookedness, that over responsibility, that overworking, that assets not working for me feeling, that sitting in the tension of success and failure at the same time? How do we decrease that, right? What can we do that is the lowest effort, but that will create the highest ROI and therefore decrease that tension? And so what I personally identified was that for me, the lowest hanging fruits and the thing that was going to create the highest ROI was my system for copywriting, because copywriting was what I paid for the most. It was also what I spent the most energy and the most time on. So if I could streamline that in a way that would preserve the quality of the copy and even increase the quality of the copy, while at the same time decreasing the cost, the time, and the energy that it would take to create that, boom, we've got a system that works. So I set off to do that. I spent the latter part of 2025, because as I said, I ended up spending most of the year kind of just coming back to myself because energy was like all over the place. So the latter part of the year, I started thinking through what it would require. And at the top of 2026, I started to build those systems. And I'm almost done now. And I feel really good about how these systems are going to support me in writing copy. For my clients, what we often find is what this looks like is going straight to their audience. Is the lowest effort, highest ROI action. And here's the thing too, y'all. Like, if you have a situation where you identify that there are options that are lowest effort, but they're not high ROI, and then you have high ROI actions that require high efforts to create that high ROI, I will usually, especially when I'm working with clients, I will usually default to the high ROI action, even though it might require some more effort, because that's effort that I can personally take off their plate. So now if you are looking in your business and answering this question for yourself and saying, okay, Chelsea, I don't see a lot of overlap between the lowest hanging fruit, the lowest effort actions that I can take, and the highest ROI actions that I can take. I see a lot of low effort actions, but they are not high ROI. I see a lot of high ROI actions, but they are not low effort. This is now where you have to say, okay, how can I get support to take these actions? Because at this point, I cannot be the one who does the high ROI action, but it does need to get done, right? And so in my case, I was the one who did the high ROI action for myself, even though it was high effort, right? It wasn't lowest efforts, but it was lowest hanging fruit in that it was like, it was available. It was right in front of me. It was eligible for action and revamping, right? This copy system that I worked on for the past several months. And so, and when I do this for my clients, it's a situation where we will say, okay, we could either revamp this funnel entirely, or we could just go straight to your audience and sell something. We could just go straight to your audience, figure out what they need, and just sell that. Get their words, like refine and reiterate on whatever messaging we have going right now. Refresh that, just launch it, and then turn that into a system and integrate that into the backend that we currently have. That's usually what it looks like for a lot of my clients. And so my question to you is, what does it look like for you? What is your lowest effort, highest ROI action that you can take if you are in a situation where you recognize you have tons of assets in your business, whether it's your audience, your funnels, or your offers that are not serving you? And you know that you cannot afford to continue the rest of 2026 in this position. That ain't gonna work, bruh. If that's where you're at, this is the question that you need to answer. Because because you're overstretched and because you're overbooked, you don't have a ton of energy and time to be the one to do all the high effort things that would get you the high ROI. This is how my clients end up in positions where they're like, I'm going to do a lazy launch, and then the lazy launch doesn't create the revenue that they're looking for because they're overstretched and overbooked, and because they have this course that's sitting there and it's not bringing in regular revenue, and they're like, okay, it's time to launch the thing, but I can't do a big launch. So they do the lazy launch, and the lazy launch don't make no money. And then they're like, what am I going to do with the offer here? Because this offer is not giving what it needs to give. It's not supporting me towards my revenue goals. People love it. People get results from it. But like, what do I do with it? Because I can't launch it in that huge way all the time. So this is where, again, it's time to answer the question. What is the lowest effort, highest ROI action that you can take? And for me and my people, it's usually just go straight to your people and figure out what they need, look at what we have, refine the messaging if it can answer their problem, and sell that. That's usually what it is. All right, y'all. So I hope that if you are in this situation where you are overstretched, you are overbooked, you do have assets in your business that you are very clear that are not working for you, you are sitting in this tension of success on the outside in terms of public facing and client facing, because you have the follower size, you have the engaged audience that reply to you. But on the back end, when you look at your Stripe account and your PayPal and you look at your take home numbers, something not adding up, this is the next step. This is where you start. And it usually, y'all, the lowest hanging fruit is just go back to your people. Usually the lowest effort and highest ROI action is just go back to your audience. And I mean, I have a system that I use with my clients to do that. So if you want to learn more about what that looks like, you can book my consultation hour. The details are in the description box below. You can get 50% off right now between now and May 8th. So you can get my help with that if you want. But this is a question that you can probably talk to like people who are familiar with your business, talk to your business coach, your biz besties, and get their perspective. Because trust, when you answer this question, you can start to shore up your foundations in the business and give yourself some leeway, some room to address that feeling of being overstretched and overbooked, because everything is not so pressing. And all the hats that you are wearing are not immediately activated. Like, you don't have to be in all the things in that moment, because when you take this lowest hanging fruit, when you take this lowest effort, highest ROI action, you can actually move forward in a way that's not as pressured and not as tense as sitting in that tension that you are right now. All right, y'all. I hope this was helpful. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comments below. As I said, the consultation hour link is also available. And until next time, we'll talk soon.